Good afternoon and welcome to the pod. Today we are going to be talking about the Super Bowl. I'm Spencer Mathis and that is Chris Mathis on the left. He will be your host and I'm passing it over to that guy right now.
Welcome back into the Chris Mathis podcast. As Spence said, I'm the host, Spencer, obviously the co-host, as we talk about Super Bowl 57 today. But before we get into that, have to shout out our sponsor that brings you each and every edition of the podcast. Information on demand, whether you need criminal background checks, E-Verify, academic accreditations, or other screening services, they've got you covered. It doesn't matter if you're in Florida, across the state on the west side, the west coast, the East Coast in New York. Spencer's even pointing out geographically, where's Denver, Spence? Yep, right there, middle of the map. Yep, okay, there we go. They got you guys covered. You can rest easy knowing a highly trained search team will get you that information that you need in just 8 hours or less. Information on demand. They're fast, they're accurate, they're reliable. Free employment background screening services, offering several different options for you guys. Visit their website, informationondemand.net. Visit them right now today, or give them a call, 855-914-4636, and they'll get you guys squared away. But I do want to get into the big talk today, and that, of course, being Super Bowl Sunday just around the corner, as Jalen Hurts and the Philadelphia Eagles will take on the Kansas City Chiefs, led by Patrick Mahomes, as Mahomes could be the only guy to ever near the greatness of Tom Brady, and it'll take him several years to even get there in regards to statistics and numbers. But as far as Super Bowl championship wins, I don't think that will happen in his career. But if somebody can do it, I think, in I don't know, 15, 20 years from now, it might be Patrick Mahomes. But either way, big-time Super Bowl matchup this weekend between those Philadelphia Eagles and the Kansas City Chiefs. Spence, before we really delve into this with our predictions and get into some of our listeners' predictions as well, talk about how both teams got to where they're at today. And did you see that these two teams would be in the Super Bowl this season? I don't know, maybe even 2 months ago.
Yeah, this was actually my prediction 2 years ago for the 2023 Super Bowl. I had predicted that Jalen Hurts would go from their first head coach, in which he played like 2 or 3 games his rookie season, to the Super Bowl in just 2 years with Nick Sirianni. Because once Sirianni was hired 2 years ago, on that day, whenever he said he was going to plant the seeds, he was going to water it, and it was going to grow. I had all this faith in that head coach.
I forgot that even was a thing, dude.
Yeah, and the Chiefs, of course, 2 years ago lost to the Buccaneers in the Super Bowl. And since then, I was saying, hey, if Patrick Mahomes is healthy, his offensive line is good, he'll have a chance to win it. But if he doesn't win the Super Bowl right now this year, I don't think he's ever going to have a chance to beat Brady, because that's his second Super Bowl loss, and he only has 1 Super Bowl win. So he has to win this one if he actually wants a chance to catch up with Tom Brady, because the Chiefs aren't going to be able to keep that team together for that long, because that team's kind of aging whenever you look at the age of Patrick Mahomes. Then you look at Travis Kelce, who's been there since like 2013. I mean, Kelce's probably got 3 or 4 more years left in him, and probably 2 or 3 of those being as good as he is now. But I don't think that's going to stay around forever. Then you look at the receiving corps; it's not very good. Juju Smith-Schuster, a couple other guys out there with them. There's no Tyreek Hill on that team. There's Marquez Valdez-Scantling, who has the big playability, but really nothing else than that. And then you also have Justin Watson, a former Buccaneers receiver. They've got a great offensive line, though, which has really helped them this season. But I've seen a lot of things that the flu or something like that is going around in the Chiefs locker room right now. And their defensive tackle, Chris Jones, has the symptoms of whatever it is. A couple of the cornerbacks have the same symptoms. And then some of their linebackers have the symptoms as well, like flu-like symptoms before the game. And the game is in just 2 days from now. So we'll see exactly if they can go. But I remember the storyline going into the Buccaneers Super Bowl versus the Chiefs was that the team wasn't healthy. COVID was a factor. They lost their offensive lineman to COVID that year. He ended up sitting out the rest of the season. And then you had Patrick Mahomes with the same little ankle injury that he has now. And you saw how that limited him with a better team, because that Chiefs team was better than the one they have now. So we'll see exactly how Mahomes can play. If he's not at least 80%, I think the Eagles are going to run away with this one, because they have such a good offensive line, defensive line, run game, receiving core, a pretty good quarterback, not a top 10 thrower, as Dan Orlovsky has said, but still, I mean, I think anyone can succeed in that offense, and having a guy like Jalen Hurts who can run around is the perfect fit for that offense, because as soon as they snap the ball, he's ready to run, he's ready to hand it off, he's ready to do the read option plays, he's ready to throw it down the field to A.J. Brown, he's ready to throw it to Dallas Goedert. They've got a great team, they've got a good running back, they've got a good defense, and I think they outmatched the Chiefs, like we said a couple of weeks ago, in the Super Bowl. I think that the Eagles are going to look good in this game, but the thing is Jalen Hurts also has a shoulder injury right now in his throwing arm, which could limit them. So I'm not really sure who I'm going to pick yet, but we'll get into that later. But right now, the Eagles and Chiefs should be a good game, and we'll talk about it after we talk about the listener score predictions.
Yeah, no doubt. Again, got a lot of feedback from you guys on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook as well. TCM_pod, the Chris Mathis podcast. Shout out a couple of guys we'll get into, and girls too. We'll get into those score predictions here momentarily. But also want to talk about just the fact that when you talk about these two teams and you think about which team needs their quarterback the most, which team do you feel like? I don't know why you're laughing over there. We had we had listeners of all girls, males, the whole 9 yards on our Facebook post that replied giving us score predictions. Somebody even said that they wish that. Well, actually, we'll let that hang on tight for that one. It was interesting when I read that comment. But when you look at these two teams and you look at the quarterbacks, because the average football fan looks at the quarterbacks, Patrick Mahomes against Jalen Hurts. If you take one of those away from their respective teams, which team do you feel like is better?
The Eagles by far. I think you could put a couple of quarterbacks that are not even near Jalen Hurts level. They would at least be in the NFC Championship with how good that team is. Just a pretty good coach squad, a great defense. The offensive line, though, seals the deal for that team. I mean, Jalen Hurts does not get pressured, and that is a thing that has happened all season long, especially with Miles Sanders picking up in the run game. I think if you take Patrick Mahomes away from the Chiefs, they're not even in the AFC Championship game this year. You saw Henne come in a little bit in that game a couple of weeks ago. He threw a touchdown, but I mean, he was only throwing 4-yard dump-off passes. He went 7 for 8 for like 34 yards and a touchdown, all dumping the ball off. Well, you have Mahomes, who throws for 350-plus a playoff game, 2 touchdowns. He's the best quarterback in the league by far, and it's going to be that way for a long time. So taking away Patrick Mahomes would absolutely destroy the Chiefs. Taking away Jalen Hurts, I don't think would do that much. They may not be in the Super Bowl, but it wouldn't be anywhere near the factor that Patrick Mahomes has with the Chiefs.
You look at the numbers for both quarterbacks. Patrick Mahomes putting up video game-like numbers, 41 passing touchdowns, 12 interceptions, 5,200-plus passing yards. Jalen Hurts on the flip side, 22 passing touchdowns, 6 interceptions, so a solid year there from Jalen. Nearly 4,000 yards passing. I know.
Yeah, he missed a lot of time. He missed a lot of time, which hurts him because at one point he was in the MVP race, and then he got injured. He started kind of falling off, and then he got really injured and was out for like 4 or 5 games with Gardner Minshew playing, so that really hurt him. But I think Patrick Mahomes is the MVP right now anyway.
Yeah, no doubt. And I think that Jalen Hurts is runner-up as of right now, considering how far his team has came from last year. They fell to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in that wild card matchup in Tampa Bay last season. We actually spoke with Patrick Johnson, a linebacker of the Philadelphia Eagles, right here on the podcast last year following that game to talk about what it was like to play in the playoffs his rookie year, what it was like to play against Tom Brady last season. Tom Brady did return for this past 2022 season, will not return next season. And some say that Giselle had something to do with his decision-making process, which is crazy. I just saw a report that Giselle had some feedback and some input on his decision to retire from the NFL. But aside from that, huge Super Bowl Sunday matchup between the Eagles and the Chiefs. What's a sleeper matchup in this game that you feel like, or maybe a guy or two that some people are underlooking or not really giving enough credit to going into this game on Sunday?
I think both offensive lines and defensive lines. With the Chiefs, you have Orlando Brown, a couple other guys on that line. Definitely not as good as that Eagles offensive line. With Jason Kelce, the best center in the league, I think the Kelce brother matchup is really a selling point in the Super Bowl. But the thing that I have to look out for, the player, you can't even call her a player. You got to go with one of the best stars in the business. Rihanna will be performing at halftime. And I think that's what we're all here for, honestly.
Hey, I don't know if you saw, but Brandon Marshall, former NFL wide receiver, pranked Patrick Mahomes at a press conference earlier this week, and he said that Rihanna called to Patrick Mahomes' face at the press conference. He said, "Hey, how do you feel about Rihanna saying that you're the greatest quarterback to ever do it?" And Pat Mahomes was, "Oh man, that means a lot. That means a lot coming from her. My family
means a lot coming from Rihanna. We love her a lot. I only have one Super Bowl. I know I'm nowhere close to Tom. He just retired. Congrats, Tom. But I'll get there one day if I win this one."
And he also said, "Yeah, and like my family, it's like hearing the gospel when we hear her sing." And then Brandon Marshall said she didn't say that. And he's like, "What? Are you kidding me? Come on now." So Patrick Mahomes has been pranked heading into this football game, and his demeanor, his body language did not change whatsoever when he found out it was a lie. It was a prank from an NFL wide receiver, a former NFL wide receiver, Brandon Marshall, had a very good career with 3 or 4 different teams throughout his career. And I don't know. I think the guy's locked in. Obviously, a lot of question marks regarding his ankle if that could be tweaked up, and if the Eagles could apply that pressure. They lead the NFL in sacks. And if you guys look back at the tape 2 years ago, Super Bowl of 2020, when Tampa Bay took on Kansas City, they had Patrick Mahomes running around for, I believe, nearly 500 scrimmage yards in total in that game, running for his life. And he was attempting some crazy pass attempts downfield. Nothing really connected when they needed to, but the guy's effort was there. He never gave in, never, hung up the cleats per se, always gave it his all, but he was running for his life, and he didn't just have enough. He was unable to do so. And I think the Chiefs team back then was better than it is now, simply because of that big play possibility with Tyreek Hill on the roster. That's no longer a thing with the Chiefs. Now, they do still have a lot of speed, but a loss of Tyreek Hill is huge, because that guy, we've seen it time and time again regarding Tyreek Hill and his explosiveness and what he's able to do for a football team, and he's no longer there. So how much do you feel like the lack of or the absence of Tyreek Hill could play in a big game like this, in which they're playing a very good defense, that Philadelphia Eagles secondary?
Yeah, I think that Patrick Mahomes has kind of proven that he doesn't need Tyreek Hill, and Tyreek Hill has proven that he doesn't need Patrick Mahomes. So it's kind of a deal. But then you look over, if the Chiefs wide receiving core is healthy, they will be completely fine. But last week, Justin Watson was getting a lot of snaps. A backup receiver was starting in that game. Juju Smith-Schuster had gotten hurt. Everyone had gotten hurt. MVS was their main guy in that game, and he ended up playing very well in that AFC Championship game against the Bengals. So I don't think it matters that much that they don't have Tyreek Hill, because this year they were 15-4 on the season, or 16-4. I forgot which one. 16-3 on the season so far. So to win 16 games without like a number one receiver on your team is pretty tough. So
14.
I think they'll be completely fine.
14.
Now I count the 2 playoff games.
Oh, that's true. That's true. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. 16-3. Both teams 16-3. So it's a solid matchup. And coming into this year, I thought it was going to be Tampa Bay and Buffalo, because that was my prediction last year as well. And obviously that did not happen. So a lot of question marks heading into next season regarding a lot of different teams. Maybe we could see one quarterback land in the NFC South by the name of Derek Carr. It looks very promising for the Raider quarterback to end up there with the New Orleans Saints. I know Joe Mancuso, the Mancuso family, would be very proud of that, because they need a quarterback there not named Jameis. They're tired of not eating the W's there in New Orleans. But before we get into our score predictions, we had a lot come in over social media via Instagram, Twitter, Facebook as well. I tried to, help with the traction there and try to include all of you guys, because this would not be possible, or it would be possible, but it wouldn't be nearly as fun if it wasn't for you guys and the feedback. We see all of your guys' comments on Anchor. There actually is a way for you guys to leave feedbacks. I saw Nick Crouch left a feedback response last week regarding the podcast and the shout out. Several people, sometimes even Papa Jerry, Grandma Mary, leave responses too. And obviously a great deal of 5-star reviews as well on both Spotify and Apple Podcast. It's easy. You'll see the little 5 stars, click the 5 stars, leave a review, and it will go a long way with us. But before we get into our predictions, we want to talk about your guys' predictions. So we had several come in via Instagram, and Spencer's going to take care of those. And I think we should, if you know their name, Spence, you should shout out their name and their Instagram handle. That way they get some love too, because they took time out of their day to weigh in and give their expertise. Now, some of these were just ridiculous. And I saw one comment on Facebook that I read and I shook my head at, and almost a little bit ashamed in that comment, but we will talk about it. So, all right, Spence, you lead it off with the score predictions for the Super Bowl on Sunday from some of you guys, our followers on Instagram in particular.
Yeah, so Britt Waller _the_baller, 2 underscores before the, because he's like that. He has the Eagles winning that game 28-24, a 4-point victory for Philadelphia. And I think that's a common thing that we're going to see on these Instagram picks, is everyone likes to choose the Eagles. You got Blake Davis _6 saying 34-31 Philly is going to take it. And then you have Crouch Crew, also known as Nick Crouch, asking for a Barbie doll princess. Next up, we have the Frozen Pirate Podcast. They said 38-31 Chiefs.
You got at least, if you're going to insult them.
Then we got Patrick Baggett, 31-28 Eagles win. That is Patrick.B2. You got Mac Jr. 322, Chiefs 24-17, and then AJC 21. He's going to go with a 27-23 victory for Kansas City. So a couple of Chiefs victories that I didn't see. After Philadelphia kicks the field goal, Kelsey with a late game-winning touchdown, calling it there. A tough call there from AJC 21. We'll see exactly how this goes. But once again, we had to gloss over Nick Crouch's prediction because he really didn't put a prediction. I think he forgot what month it was. He was asking Santa for a Barbie doll princess house. So you go ahead with the other picks that you have.
Yeah, I don't know if you saw the_frozen_pirate_podcast also left a score prediction.
I did.
You did? Okay, yeah. That's Louie from Massachusetts. He calls into the Ronnie and T-Crash show almost every day. So shout out to Louie. We appreciate my man for also joining us here on the podcast as well. Several more score predictions came in via Facebook. Adam Hefner, my guy, said 38-31. The Eagles win. Bill Carrier, our friend there at Young Harris College. Love that guy. We actually had his daughter, Gabby Akinsanya, on our podcast earlier this year. She works for Fresh Tape Media. Fantastic stuff there from her. She was on the podcast about 9-10 weeks ago at this point. But Bill says 28-17 Philadelphia on Sunday. Patrick Malone, the great Patrick T. Malone on Facebook, says Eagles 27-13. Tim Tao, a good friend of ours. I worked with him up in North Georgia for quite some time. He allowed me to be a part of the Friday Night Press Box podcast each and every week for high school football. He said Chiefs 34, Eagles 31. That could be a very close, entertaining ball game. Jennifer Purrier, formerly a gym manager at Wellness Center in Blairsville. My old friend said, unfortunately, I have to take the Chiefs, but I predict 28-21. And this is the comment, Jen, that I was not looking forward to reading, but she says, hopefully Mahomes' wife falls over railing into stands. LOL. That's even if you don't like her, that's a little bit much.
Take
Jen, but
Mahomes' brother with her.
But I don't know how Patrick Mahomes is able to keep his sanity. But Garen Crawford, our good friend from Video Unlimited, he said 30-27, and that ain't no guess. That's what it's gonna be. That's what Garen Crawford from Video Unlimited said in Blairsville. He also said Vicky Valancourt.
Yeah,
you get a reference.
Yep.
What's the reference?
The Water Boy, baby girl.
Ah, nice. Okay. And then Dad said Chiefs 27, Eagles 17. Damn. And that one. That's a low-scoring game right there for the Eagles. I don't know.
Yeah. One thing that I've seen throughout all these predictions is that people are giving the Eagles defense a lot of credit here because they may have a very good defensive line, but their cornerbacks, besides Darius Slay, have been getting toasted this season. Luckily, they have C.J. Gardner-Johnson at safety this year that's really helped them. The Saints, for some reason, were strapped tight for cash after they paid Michael Thomas all that money to play 3 games in 2 seasons. So they had to trade away a very good safety. The Eagles picked him up. Luckily for them, he's had a great season. But the rest of that secondary isn't the best. A lot of undersized cornerbacks. Their linebacking core is pretty good, but I think that people are giving the Eagles defense a lot of credit here. Obviously, they do have 3 players with 10-plus sacks this year. But you look at the Chiefs' offensive line, I think they're going to be able to hold their own for the most part. It's going to be a battle of the trenches. I think there's going to be a lot of running in this game, which is, of course, going to favor the Eagles because the Chiefs don't have the best run game besides Isaiah Pacheco, their rookie running back, a very good running back. Clyde Edwards-Helaire lost the starting job. The 31st pick from just 2 seasons ago lost the starting job to a 7th-round pick. And I just want to say that never draft a running back in the first round. I think that should be the standard going forward because they just do not last long. And whenever they are good, they get hurt right before their contract is due. They get paid a lot. They get hurt again. So, I mean,
is that a Saquon Barkley shot right there?
Yeah, he's going to get hurt again. But the
oh man,
it's obviously going to be a good game. The Eagles, I think, have the upper hand in this one just because of their running game. But at least it's not the Buffalo Bills who couldn't run the ball any better than the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So we'll see exactly how this goes. But it's going to be a tough game for that Eagles secondary if that pressure doesn't get there. And it's going to come down to Orlando Brown, a very highly paid offensive tackle for Kansas City, some good offensive line up front for KC that's going to help them. We'll see exactly what they can do, but I don't know how it's going to go yet.
Yeah, and we're still not going to get there. We have several more scores to get to from you guys, and starting with Gary Crawford. I think what we'll do is if we hear any outrageous score or something we agree with, we'll kind of weigh in on it. Otherwise, we'll just move on after we shout out. But Gary Crawford, also a great friend that really got us into the sports card business probably 11, 12 years ago at Video Unlimited. He said Chiefs 38, Eagles 31. That's a good score. Also, Hog Grimsley used to play for the Bucks. Chet in North Georgia. He says Eagles 38, Chiefs 35. I just don't know about 35. 5 straight touchdowns, no field goals kicked. I don't see that happening in this game. Ian Clemens on Twitter, at Ian Clemens _, our guy from UCHS, Spencer's class of 2019, says Eagles 31, Chiefs 28. And then Trenton, we know he's an Eagles fan, so I don't know if we should take this with a grain of salt, but he says Eagles 27, Chiefs 21. Again, another game where no field goal is kicked for the Chiefs. I don't know. I think that, of course, I'm going to go. Well, actually, I'll save that. But Trenton says 27-21 Philadelphia. I hope that at the end of this day on Sunday that he's happy with the outcome of the game because obviously awesome cousin, awesome friend. And, he pulled for the Buccaneers whenever the Bucs made it to the Super Bowl years ago. So I have not done my due diligence as far as tweeting him as much as he did me back when the Bucs were in it. So I'm in. Just know that this message is for you. It should be a good game on Sunday. He says 27-21 Philadelphia. Isaac Pugh says Eagles 38, Chiefs 24, which I thought he was a Patrick Mahomes lover boy. I was wrong. So he is taking the Eagles by 14. Right now, the last I checked, as of the recording of this podcast, the spread 1.5 points. Eagles are 1.5 point favorites in this game. And our guy Isaac Pugh going out on a limb saying a 14-point victory for Philadelphia in this football game. Will Ball, you know how he is, at Will B98. Didn't even give us a prediction of a score. He just said, fly, Eagles, fly. And he did the Eagles flock thing. He also said, shout out to Rocky. He actually didn't say shout out to Rocky, but it should be a pretty solid game. I'm still monitoring Facebook messages now to see if anybody's left any more score predictions, and I don't see any more, Spence. So I think with that, I think it's time that we give our score predictions for this game. And I'm going to let you go first because I think it's only right. We're recording this podcast a little bit later than usual. I think that you get the opportunity to go first and you provide the listeners what they want to hear. And obviously some will be heartbroken and some will be excited. But what do you got in this game on Sunday? Eagles, Chiefs, Super Bowl 57.
Yeah, this is the easiest Super Bowl for me to ever pick because the script writers have already decided who's going to win this game. The game has been leaked, and the Philadelphia Eagles are going to beat the Kansas City Chiefs 37-34. The announced attendance of that game is going to be 63,381, and the game is going to last 3 hours and 37 minutes. So the Philadelphia Eagles, congratulations, you are Super Bowl champions. A 37-34 victory is what the script writers have in store so far for this Super Bowl. So we'll see exactly how this goes. I don't really know if there's any point in watching this game after I saw that this had been leaked. Really no point in watching it. Whenever you have Rihanna at halftime, it's not going to show up on the screen, but you can see right there, 37-34. Someone leaked the Super Bowl script. We'll see how it goes. I'm not personally going to be watching. I'm going to turn it on whenever I see on Twitter that they've reached halftime to watch Rihanna. Maybe who else comes out there on stage. Hopefully not that one dude, but we'll see how it goes. I think it's just going to be Rihanna out there, nobody else with her. We pray. So I'm not going to watch the game. 37-34. Eagles win this one. I think the offensive line is going to play great for Philadelphia. I think the Chiefs are going to try and strike back. The Eagles are going to be up by 13 with 1:15 left, in my opinion. The Chiefs are going to go down the field, score, onside kick. Harrison Butker does not get it. And the Philadelphia Eagles with Nick Sirianni, the Dogs, are Super Bowl champions.
Yeah, you know how it is. All right, so we did get one more score prediction here. Dusty Davenport via Facebook says 33-30 in overtime. Oh. Chiefs. So he's really adding some emphasis there. Chiefs in overtime, that would be a thrilling game. I hope that's the case. I hope it is a good game. Or is it going to overtime? Do I hope that the Chiefs win this football game? No, I do not. I think Philadelphia, aside from their fans, I'm pulling for the Philadelphia Eagles. We'll exclude Trent Nobles out of there. Trenton, you're safe, man. You're not a safe man, but you are safe, man. And then Patrick Johnson, our guy, linebacker number 48 for the Philadelphia Eagles, pulling for him. I do hate to pull for an NFC team, especially a team like the Eagles, a team that's given the Buccaneers a whole bunch of trouble over the years, except the Buccaneers got the last laugh back in the year in which they won Super Bowl 37. Rondé Barber shut down the vet. But my prediction, and I've said it for about a week and a half now, 31-27. Philadelphia comes out on top in this one. Should be a good game. I think it's going to be very entertaining either way. I don't see it going to be a blowout for either team in this one on Sunday. It should be a good matchup. Again, 31-27. Philadelphia Eagles are Super Bowl 57 champions in this one. And I look for a guy by the name of Jalen Hurts to get the MVP. I think he dominates. He did not look so hot in their last playoff game. He was a little bit banged up. He overthrew his receivers because he was trying to, overcompensate for that shoulder injury. I think that Jalen Hurts has a huge performance. Maybe a guy like Smith has a big game receiving 110, 115 plus receiving yards in this one, 2 touchdowns. We'll find out on Sunday. As always, thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you guys for tuning in to our Talk to Him Tuesday episode with Josh Harris as well. Had a lot of great feedback from you guys. A lot of people thought that the situation in which they mic'd up the offensive guards for both NFL teams on the field was interesting. Also, some great feedback regarding the murder scene too, Spence. And several people caught your joke. Trenton, I believe, is one of them, caught your joke. Mama caught your joke about were you a part of it, and he just brushed right over it. But I know it was a great time. We appreciate all of you guys. Spence, who's your MVP for the game? And we'll close it out.
Jalen Hurts, man, one of the greatest freaking quarterbacks I've seen in years. I mean, I sent those emails. They kicked me out of the league, but I got Jalen Hurts winning that MVP, man.
Jalen Hurts.
But what I was going to say is that if you're from the Union County area, Hiawassee, Fannin County, maybe even Young Harris, you might want to tune into that Josh Harris Talk to Him Tuesday. You see the last name? Yes, you guessed it. He is the founder of Young Harris and Young Harris College. So if you want to hear more about that, tune in. Also worked for NFL Films with Mike, the NFL offensive lineman. Worked a murder scene. Watched the guy scrape stuff off the wall, and we're talking about blood, guts, tears, and brains. And also founded Young Harris the next year.
No, that's
an awesome story. It's beautiful.
All right, guys, that is another edition, a Super Pod edition. Hopefully you guys enjoy Super Bowl Sunday and attach your favorite Super Bowl snacks down below. Thanks for tuning in.